Hello, Saints fans. Welcome to Saints TV, not your average show here with your Friday football preview. Here we go. It is week 3 of the playoffs. Your Saints take on the Wildcats of Maquoketa Valley here in a few hours. I thought I'd walk you through our process again this week, share a little info on what the Saints are up against here tonight as they face off against these Maquoketa Valley Wildcats. So let's take a quick look here and go right into that process. It looks a little something like this. And then there were 8, right? There are only 8 teams left in the Class A race to a state champion. ACGC plays Tri-Center tonight. Lisbon plays Madrid. Your Saints at Maquoketa Valley host Maquoketa Valley, and then West Hancock will host Woodbury Central. So those are the 8 teams that are left. Should be 4 good games. If we look at those rankings, remember, this is that final set of rankings, right? Which will determine kind of who plays who. So you see number 1, West Hancock plays Woodbury Central. Obviously, the Saints in Maquoketa Valley. There's your 3 versus 7 matchup. Okay, Galen Catholic Lamar's lost last week to that Woodbury Central team, so they are out. So the 6 is out. The 8 is out as well, as they lost last week to Madrid, who is unranked or were unranked in that last poll. So there's how the state did in terms of 8 rankings versus 8 teams. They got 6 of the 8 correct. And of course, the 10th team was right there as well. So pretty good job there with those rankings. You can see how those will play out tonight. But let's jump into the topic at hand. Your 9-1 Saints take on the Maquoketa Valley Wildcats. They come in at 9-1 also. One common opponent here as we look at kind of who's played who. Maquoketa Valley, one of those wins is over Nashua Plainfield. They played them last week in the playoffs, come away with a 38-13 victory. That game was much, much closer than that until the 3rd and 4th quarters, where Maquoketa Valley does what Maquoketa Valley does, which is pour it on late with big plays, long passing touchdowns, some fumbles from Nashua Plainfield helped Maquoketa Valley make that one look like a bigger victory than maybe it was. Like I said, 38-13 is the final, but that thing obviously was 13 all at half. So Maquoketa Valley wins last week versus Nashua Plainfield. Your Saints, we of course know what they did last week going into Wapsie Valley, had to travel to Wapsie Valley. Tyson Klein had himself a night, and the rest of the Saints do their job, and the Saints win that one to set up this matchup here tonight, 7:00 at St. Ansgar. This is one of those I've had a lot of questions this week of, so we were on the road last week, but we're home this week. Yep, that's exactly right. Because last week was all about how you finished in your district. Wapsie Valley won their district. Of course, your Saints finished second in ours. So we got to travel to Wapsie Valley. This week's matchups go off of those rankings that we just looked at, right? They go off of these guys. So because we are ranked ahead of Maquoketa Valley in that 3 seed, we get to host them tonight here in St. Ansgar. So what does this look like? What does Maquoketa Valley do? Well, they do a little bit of everything. This is a very balanced team. Head coach Andrew Christensen. If you say Andrew Christensen, why does that name sound familiar? Like I did when I went through it? Well, that's because he was the Nashua coach from 2020 up until this year. This is his first year at Maquoketa Valley. He was your Nashua Plainfield coach in prior years. So these coaching staffs, at least the head coaches, know each other from those matchups in the past. 9-1 are these Wildcats. They lost in week 1 to Cascade, kind of an odd game. They lost that one 10-9. They have reeled off 9 straight wins since that. They're going to run the shotgun spread, I formation. They are about 36% pass, 64% run, but 45% of their yards come from the pass. So although they run it more than they throw it, almost half their yards are coming from that pass. So they have athletes, that's what we've seen. They've got some speed outside. Brady Wall is their junior quarterback, has 1,723 yards, 17 touchdowns on the year. He'll also run it, right? 424 yards and 11 touchdowns on the ground. Their bell cow back, Rogan Height, the sophomore, just a sophomore here with 168 carries and 1,486 yards, 24 touchdowns for that young man. He's also caught it a few times there as well. So, you kind of look through what they do well. They're going to run this shotgun spread. So you're going to see a lot of 3 and 4 wide receiver sets and try to spread you out and either run it off of that formation or throw it deep. This Wall kid is a very good quarterback. Again, just a junior, but he is 6'2", 175 pounds. Looks like the real deal as you look on paper. So I think one of the things the Saints are going to try to do tonight is make them one-dimensional, try to shut down height. That has been the strength of our defense throughout the year. Is you can't run it up the middle on the Saints. That's been what kind of the calling card for this Saints defense. So I think that'll be one of the keys: is can the Saints make the Wildcats one-dimensional, make them go to the air like Wapsie Valley had to do in the second half last week. And yeah, they completed some passes over the middle, kind of under some underneath stuff, but it was bend but don't break for the Saints defense. And I think you'll have to see the same thing here tonight in St. Ansgar. Defensively, this Maquoketa Valley team's very strong, giving up just 6 points a game on average. So they have a bunch of tackles for loss, a bunch of tackles or a bunch of sacks as well. So they have played very well defensively throughout their schedule. They've got a bunch of blowout wins along the way as well. Now, I will say I don't think they've played a team as physical as we are. They've dominated physically. It will be very interesting to see how that matchup plays out tonight when it's physical versus physical, right? Where they're, I think this game's going to be won in the trenches and one in the fourth quarter. How we talked about height, they really don't have a lot. We know Wall's going to keep it. Height's the bell cow back. Other than that, that's kind of what they do. Whereas if you look at the passing game, look at this. They've got all these receivers here. Doherty with 18 catches, Holtz with 22, Intorf with 28, Knipper with 37. So they have 4 guys, kind of like the Saints do, in terms of going to get it. And that's why that throwing game, the passing game's been so successful for them. Like I said, I'll reiterate that half of their yards, nearly half their yards throughout the season, have come via the pass. So that'll be the challenge for the Saints tonight as they look to try to shut down these Wildcats as they roll into St. Ansgar. From a Saints perspective, if we go and look at some of those stats, last week I think was super interesting. In fact, let's just go look at that. It's one of the things I was looking at earlier today. In this 18-0 win over Wapsie Valley, completed just one pass, but none bigger, right, than that one pass to Dylan Brum for a huge first down on 3rd and long in the third quarter to sort of flip that game from a momentum perspective and to get, the Saints ended up getting on the board there, making it a 2-score game. And they never looked back. If I'd have told you going into last week, hey, they're going to limit Corbin Michaels to 25 yards, that was clearly Wapsie Valley's mission, was we're going to shut down Corbin Michaels. Tyson Klein said, all right, give me the football, right? The senior who didn't start offensively in that game last week was nursing an injury coming in, went in the second series and had himself a night. 20 carries, 156 yards, and a touchdown for Tyson Klein last week. And that's what the Saints offense can do to you. Is there, you shut one back down, that's fine. We've got 2 or 3 more. We know what Clevenger and then Schwiesau keeping it from that quarterback spot can do as well. It'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of talk about how this game tonight might come down to the passing games, right? We talked about what Maquoketa Valley is going to try to do offensively. I don't think they'll run the ball. I don't think they'll be able to run the ball as effectively as they have against some of the teams they've played this year against our defense. So they're going to go to the air more often, in my opinion. Do the Saints have to do that as well? I think that'll be something we're going to watch in this game. Is do the Saints keep it on the ground and go try to wear out and take it to Maquoketa Valley here from a physical standpoint and keep the ball on the ground? Or do we use that passing game that has been as effective as it's been in a long time? 1,019 yards for Jay Schwiesau on the season there. Receiving wise, we've talked about this throughout the year, right? You have 3 or 4 really solid options there in that passing game for Schwiesau to look for. And then we talked about the diversity that we have at the running game, right? Whether that's Michaels, Clevenger, Tyson Klein, or Sweesow keeping it himself. So it'll be a great matchup tonight. I think a very, very fun football game. I think being that toughness, physical, and the Saints are going to have to be patient. I think Maquoketa Valley will throw the football early and often. I think they'll complete some of those underneath passes, just like we saw Wapsie Valley do last week. So it'll be, can the Saints keep them out of the end zone just like they did to Wapsie Valley last week? And then a big defensive test for a Maquoketa Valley defense who hasn't allowed a lot of points throughout the season. Again, averaging just 6 points allowed per game. But it'll be a battle tonight, strength on strength here tonight, as it should be, right? There are 8 teams left. We are down to the quarterfinals in this one. The Saints team, this 2024 version of your Saints team, trying to become just the 7th team in school history to make it to that semifinal round. If you can get to St. Ansgar, be there tonight and join us live as we bring you this game. If you can't, be sure to tune in right here on Saints TV. We look forward to a great football game, and we hope to see you either in person or right here on Saints TV. Thanks for joining us.